Welcome to Bonehead Weekly, and this week's our special Mother's Day episode. Do you all have?
Most people, Joe, actually do have a mother.
Yes, I've heard that.
At one
That's the
point. Now,
reason
some
why-
people unfortunately don't currently have one, but at one point, science says that most people had one.
That's the reason why I'm setting this one out. I have no reference.
Well, I just wanted to, people sometimes say our show isn't relatable. So we finally picked a topic because, again, scientifically speaking, at some point, most people have had a mother.
Well, people really don't say that about our show. They don't say anything about our show because they don't comment.
Fair enough.
Chad, you okay?
Yeah, I was looking something up in preparation for the show while you two were bantering.
Yeah, I wouldn't call
But-
this banter.
But I don't know if anybody has ever called me relatable at all in my entire life.
Just the
So
cousins that you sleep with. Now, gentlemen, everyone does have a mother. James is right. And everyone has wonderful mothers, right?
yeah,
No,
some don't.
no, Chad. No, some people don't have wonderful mothers.
Yeah,
Now,
I was gonna say oh shit.
I mean,
blanking on
you
the-
have wonderful mothers. Chad, you especially have just a smoking hot, wonderful mother. Thinking about her right now, Chad.
and now James is
mom has got it going on. I got nothing.
It doesn't work quite
it
as
doesn't
well.
doesn't roll off the tongue.
But
No.
she doesn't look like Rachel Hunter, but she's got it where it counts, like the Millennium Falcon. Yeah.
Fast ship. Oh,
She
fast
does have those
mother,
two-
old man.
She does have those two mechanical knees.
I was going to say more about her cargo department, but okay. So we're going to talk about moms in this week's episode, but we're not going to talk about wonderful, endearing, baked you cookies, didn't beat you before the baseball game, didn't put you in a small closet with about this much water, little bit of water and low voltage. Not those kinds. We're not going to talk about those wonderful kinds of moms. We're going to talk about the really shitty ones in
Oh,
movie
yes.
history. Right, gentlemen?
Can I make a point, by the way,
real quick, before you do, I want to give a shout out to Christy Lewis, who had this idea. We're actually the two boneheads, the three boneheads were able to get together and do 2 episodes this week just so we could get this in, because I just could not get this idea out of my mind. I thought this is a great episode idea. So kudos to Christy for giving us the idea. And kudos for you, the two of you all, to make this work after 10 o'clock on a night after we've already shot one the night before.
Well, what I wanted to say though is, we come up with our list, we do it different ways, but usually we'll come up with our list, but then maybe we look online to see what online list says. And there was one that was on an online list that I wanted to start with because I think we need to veto it. I don't think she's a bad mother.
By the way, I just want to point out, I did not do any research. I pulled 8 out of my ass, just like when Joe said, "Can we do this tonight?" I'm like, okay, boom.
Well, no, I did research too, and I'm with James.
I did zero research because I was just like, this is my list. This is automatically my list.
I agree with James. There's several women on these lists who I don't think are bad moms.
So, James, who's your bad mom that doesn't think?
It popped up on a couple lists, and I immediately said, no, that is not a bad mother. That is a mother maybe you don't like, but it's not a bad mother. The Alien Queen.
Yeah, I agree. She is on.
Mom.
She's even on the Rotten Tomatoes 20 worst alien, and she's not a bad mom.
She's not a bad mom. She's doing this to protect the ability of her children to go off and make more evil aliens.
Yeah.
Now, if you're human, she's a villain.
Damn
But
it, I put her on as a joke. That shows up on lists.
Yeah, it's no
As a
Chad. It's
terrible
in the
mom.
top 24 on Rotten Tomatoes. Worst mothers.
I'll be damned. Okay.
Yeah,
And I don't think that's a terrible. I mean, it's again, if you're human, but if you do it from her point of view, she, much like Raylan, is justified.
There is another one. I don't know if you all have got her on your list or not. I know it's one of Chad's favorite movies. It's one of Chad's favorite. It's the best John Waters film. But
Oh, Hairspray.
yes, no. Beverly Sutphin, Kathleen Turner's character in Serial Moms, and a lot of these lists.
She's not a terrible
She's
mom.
a mass murderer, but she's not a bad mom.
No, she loves her kids. That's why she murders people.
Yeah, I don't think
That's
she
not a bad
also-
mom.
But well, I'm with James though. You look up these lists, and we have arguments out there about
No,
what a shitty mom is.
I'm surprised that I didn't pull it up because I didn't want to the mom who had the bomb in her hairdo. Now that's a terrible mom.
Which mom who has a bomb in her hair?
The snotty snooty girl from Hairspray, who at the end she put a bomb in her hair in her big beehive.
You know, I didn't like Hairspray when it came out, and I've never went back to revisit it.
I love that. I loved it as a kid. I still like it. I don't love it now, but I mean I still like it. I'm surprised. Yeah, but no, that's a terrible mom, but not Kathleen Turner, serial mom. Nope.
Yeah, she's on several lists, and I get why that's easy clickbait for shitty moms, but in reality, she's a good mother. She's just a mass murderer. She's a serial killer. She's the serial mom.
Okay, well, good. I'm kind of curious, since you all did research. I'm wondering if any of the ones that appear on my list have been on your research. So we'll find out.
All right, let's go, Chad. Pop your cherry.
I don't know where to start, but I'm going to go with one.
That's what she said.
It is a large group of
that she said about you.
Every mom in the Goonies.
All right. So she shows up on a lot of lists twice.
No. Not the villain mom. The kids' moms.
Yeah, but the villain mom, and we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
She shows up twice for two different roles, both in the 80s, really close together.
She is a terrible mom in that, but I think, but she is.
She is.
But the kids, their moms are bad.
Their moms and dads are bad.
Yeah,
nobody is there watching it. Of course, now, are they bad or are they 80s parents?
Good point.
Because how much were you supervised, Chad?
Not a lot.
I don't know that I was supervised, especially towards the late 80s when they split up. I don't know that there was a ton of supervision.
No, it was pretty much if my parents left, my sister watched us, and then it was pretty much you do what you want to do. Just don't bother me. And your sister's
like a lot of the older sisters in those 80s movies.
Yeah. So no, I mean, but that
and I love Shauna,
but they disappeared for 24 hours. I mean, it was overnight. And then at the end, are any parents mad? No.
They brought gold.
They brought gold, and then not to mention Chunk's mom, who, hey, I found this really crazy man who's obviously mentally challenged and might have some issues. Within 5 seconds, he's coming to live with us.
Absolutely, because she's an 80s mom.
So yeah,
Chunk brought the money home. That's all he needed to do. Marty McFly got the Toyota truck.
But I brought this one up because, yes, I can't believe I'm blanking on her name. One of the best character actors from the 80s.
Anne Ramsey.
Anne Ramsey, thank you. Anne Ramsey does get noticed for being a terrible mom in that movie. I mean, look what she did to poor Sloth. She beats her own kids. She's turned them into criminals. But the parents
more present than the other moms in the town.
Yes. And the other parents aren't doing a damn thing for their kids. They're leading them down the wrong path. Look what happened to Corey Feldman. Sean Astin turned out okay. Maybe James Brolin.
Actually, have you ever heard Sean Astin talk about Corey Feldman and being on set?
No.
And talking about, you knew. Because of parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah, even he knew. Like this isn't parent. This isn't right. Google it, folks. Listen to Sean Astin talk about it. Going, he doesn't have that system.
Okay, I'll look that up. I'll look that up tomorrow. But yeah, no,
he doesn't quite do it in that time. He is Sean is a sweet guy. Met him once, but it's pretty much what he's saying.
I'm glad Anne Ramsey showed up. I'm kind of shocked that she showed up on several lists, but it's true. But the Goonies moms, no, does not show up on any list. I'm sure.
It's a good one, Chad. I like that one a lot. They're shitty parents, shitty parents.
That was actually the first one that came up on my list. I'm like, I got to talk about the Goonies moms.
You got a lot more than I do, James.
Gentlemen, I'm going to talk about a.
Oh, can I just point out my second one is probably going to piss James off, and that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Well, good. It's usually me that you're looking forward to pissing off.
Oh, I'm still looking forward to pissing you off, but James.
I'm going to take one that honestly
in the ear
is a character that you may love, Joe, but I'm going to have to say it. You know who was a terrible, not only a terrible mother, but also obviously a terrible mother-in-law?
Who?
Agnes Moorehead playing Endora in Bewitched.
She was a bad mother-in-law, but God, she was so much fun. Uncle Arthur wasn't a very good uncle, but we all wanted
No,
an
no, no,
Uncle
no.
Arthur
No,
episode.
it works for the show, but honestly, she decided the first time she met him that she hated him, and instead of trusting her daughter,
Well, he wasn't a witch
yeah,
or a
yeah,
warlock or whatever.
yeah.
But
But
in all fairness, how
Kind of
many
like when your mother-in-law wasn't very fond of you because you're not an attorney and don't have tons of money.
And I was going to say,
Yeah.
and isn't that the kind of the thing with most mothers-in-laws is they look at the husband and they instantly don't like him, or they look for something not to like?
In movies, yes. In real life, that actually only happened to two of you.
But
No, my
honestly,
mother-in-law likes me.
If you
I
go
think she
back
does.
and watch Bewitched, my kids a couple years ago discovered Bewitched, and we watched some of it, and I was
Yeah.
like, she yeah, she wants to break them up because she doesn't like him, but she also intentionally makes her daughter's life harder.
Yeah, she's not a good mom. I agree with you. You are correct.
I mean, it's entertaining, but no, I mean, in real
She's
life,
self-absorbed. She only cares about what she wants, and what she wants is what she wants for her daughter, and what she wants for her daughter is not what Samantha wants.
yeah. And by the way, Agnes Moorehead won 6 consecutive Emmy had 6 consecutive Emmy nominations for playing that role.
And deserved every freaking single one of them, because that's not a great show. It's the character actors that show up on a weekly basis. And I'm not taking anything away from what's her face who played Samantha, whom I'm sure is a national treasure and people love. But you showed up for the supporting cast on that one, right?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Are you done?
Yeah, I mean that's I can go on, but that's it. I mean, it was well acted, but she's a terrible mother.
She's a terrible mom. So there's so many to pick from, so many, but I really wanted to do one that's kind of may make some people mad, but at the same time, she's not a great mom, and plus she's just lying to her kids about her bullshit bullshit existence before they came along. It's Lorraine Baines. It's Leah Thompson's character in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
She first of all lies to them about what a prim and proper lady she was, which a lot of parents do. She was this, in fact, that's the whole thing. If you go and listen to Robert Zemeckis and the two other Bob
Gale.
Thanks. Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis. It started with the pitch of them as writing partners going, dude, what if you went back in time? And what if your mom was the slut? Right?
Yeah.
Go listen to it. I'm not judging
because Bob Gale said he saw a picture of his dad.
Yeah.
And his dad was like class president, and he said, would I have even got along with that guy?
Right. And it's true. Who knows how you'd feel about your mom or dad once you met them when they were young, because it's a completely different person and a completely different relationship. That being said, Lorraine Baines, she's terrible. She's self-absorbed. Once again, another 80s mom that's self-absorbed, and everything works. And Back to the Future has the ultimate 80s ending. First Back to the Future, that and Ghostbusters.
But to add to your point, actually, Joe, Back to the Future, the musical, which was a lot of fun, takes it one step further. There's an entire song where she's talking about, again, how prim and proper she is. And the daughter says, I'd like to call a boy. And she said, we don't call boys. You can't do that. So it takes it one step further. It's like, oh, no, you can't even show interest because that makes you bad.
And she's a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
She's resigned to her fate. She doesn't care. She's got this whole bullshit story about her and her husband and she's a failure in life. But isn't one brother in jail?
No, it's their uncle, Uncle Joey.
Uncle Joey's in jail. Yeah, remember he's in the crib. No, her kids, her son's older, like maybe in his 20s, and he's still living at home.
Yeah. And he works at fast food.
Yeah,
Burger King, because that's the worst thing that could happen to you because it's an 80s movie.
Burger King. I worked at Burger King for a month. Worst experience of my life.
I'm sure there's worse.
No, in terms of careers, yet Burger King was, well, second worst. How's that? But yeah, no, and then the daughter is very introverted and doesn't have a lot of social abilities from what I can gather. And then Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Who's the only one that shows any real initiative. And then he fails. I mean, his audition gets canceled.
Right.
He's kind of a loser.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Well, by the way, I was thinking about this the other day, gentlemen.
It's a Toyota.
Getting a little bit off topic, somewhat, but actually connected to this idea. Do you think the reason 80 still holds this gestalt is that we had movies about everybody? There were a ton of movies where the protagonist was a loser.
Yeah.
There were a ton of movies where, of course, you had the hero, and because we had all these different things, no matter who you were, you could go, oh, that movie, I'll watch that movie. And I think that's...
We had heroes with everybody as long as they were Lily White.
Well, yeah. Okay, fair.
There was more diversity in the 70s cinema than there were in the 80s.
That is absolutely true. But I wonder if that's one of the reasons the 80s is still like, it's not moving on. People aren't going, oh, well, now the 90s.
It never left. It never left.
It's still the 80s. 80s is still what you go back to.
It's not, and I've said this before, it's not only the 80s in pop culture, it's the 80s in politics. It never left. Yeah. All right. Whose turn is it now?
It's my turn.
I have another obscure one in a second. Go, Chad.
Yeah. So my second pick is a mother who is grieving. But she handles her grief wrong by completely abandoning her child and leaving him to grow up in a rough environment. Winona Kirk from Star Trek. Terrible mother.
We don't really get to know her though.
Yeah, that's the point. She loses she loses the husband, and then she's out.
Yeah, I guess. She remarries.
She abandons her son with this horrible uncle who threatens to punch him and beat him up, and he's just a wild child.
That was his stepdad.
It's a stepdad. Sorry, leaves him with a stepdad who seems to be abusive.
Yes, it's hinted at, but can I say the little shit stole his Corvette
because he was reaching out. And his mother wasn't,
and drove it over a fucking cliff
because his mother wasn't around. She abandoned him to go do her work and did not care about him.
So it's funny you did this one to piss off James, and you get more of a reaction out of me.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I think honestly, it's one of the things that if you look at it and you think about it,
and then notice he never talks about his mom. He only talks about his dad.
Well, he doesn't talk about his dad till Pike makes him.
Yeah, but he talks about him.
Well, what's really funny is, of course, if you get into the Prime timeline, he has a brother, right? And actually, again, in the Prime line, he has a brother because of Strange New Worlds. But you get to see the family relationship with his brother. But Chad, to your point, when his brother comes up in the original series or in Strange New Worlds, they never mentioned their mother.
Yeah.
At least to date. Now, maybe next season we'll have an entire Mother's Day episode. I don't know, but you're right, Chad. To that point, Mama Kirk is never brought up.
Terrible, terrible mother, guys. I hate to break it to you, James.
But
quit arguing. Why are you arguing with me, James?
But
so
Chad,
much.
Do you think that's what
I knew this was going? I knew this was going to piss you off so badly, so I had to bring it up. I knew
actually it doesn't. I think that's what made him into the man he was.
You're in denial. Yeah, a shitty captain who kills a bunch of people.
Least
effective captain.
I will not let you talk about Sisko that way. He did that to that planet because the Cardassians had done it to another planet. That's fair game, Chad.
Sisko's way better than Kirk.
It depends on the situation.
Sisko had results. Kirk, no.
Yeah, no, you're right. That Genesis device killed that entire planet.
But
all right, are you done?
I'm done. Captain Kirk, Winona Kirk, terrible mother.
I keep thinking Winona Earp and our good friend Bo. Keep going.
I honestly, guys, didn't know she was Winona. I had to look her up. I don't even think they say refer.
I didn't know she was Winona either.
I didn't think they ever refer to her by name.
All right, James.
I think one of the worst mothers on cinema that provides no support and only guilt to their child has to be, as played by Piper Laurie, Carrie's mom.
So I wanted to talk about Carrie's mom, but it's on so many lists. But yeah, she is a shitty mother.
Like if you go back and watch the film, read the book, whatever, like Margaret, it's Margaret, right? Yeah. Margaret White is, I mean, there is nothing, if Carrie found the cure for cancer, it would be wrong, right? I mean, no matter what Carrie does,
The zealot.
she is a sin in the eyes of God.
Because her mother gave in to
Right.
her whorish vagina ways and had sex with her drunk husband and had a baby. Did I miss something?
Yeah, I mean, and that's no, and the fact that she spends the rest of her life
mom had sex.
The fact that she spends the rest of her life taking that out on her daughter.
Yes.
Because there is nothing her daughter can do right. I think in some ways she's one of the great movie villains for not being the villain. The villain. She is one of the great side villains, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's right up there with side chicks. She is kind of a side villain. I mean, she probably is the main villain. I mean, Carrie kills everybody. Carrie kills everybody in the book.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, but do you think Carrie would have killed everybody if she had a supportive home? You know what I mean?
No. Carrie is a monster made by her mother. So, that's the reason why I say Margaret White is the main villain, because Carrie is a monster made by her mother, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Carrie, the book's slightly.
But yeah, no, I think Carrie. I mean,
the movie's so good.
But I think one of the things when I think about these relationships and movies, there's not too many mothers that, like, if I'm stealing anybody's, I'm sorry, but like Angela Lansbury.
Oh yeah,
Manchurian Candidate, right?
Yeah, Manchurian Candidate. She has she once again, most of these mothers that we're talking about have their own agendas.
Right.
And damn the torpedoes for their children. And the Manchurian Candidate with Angela Lansbury is a fantastic example of that. Of willing to do anything.
But I think oddly enough, there's still some weird support that Angela Lansbury, or that character, if you read the book actually implies there may be some weird incestuous things going on, but that there's a support system still, at least, where I don't think Carrie has any support system from her mother.
No.
Other than knowing that her mother is going to judge her.
And Carrie's mom, Margaret, doesn't really give her any of the backstory of the truth till she's trying to murder her.
Yeah.
Right at the end. So that's how I'm actually remembering the movie better in the book, and I've read the book, so that's kind of sad, but
but no, I mean, Carrie White, I think, is one of those mothers where I'm like, Margaret White is
right. Well, I'm going to shit all over an obscure one that I didn't think about, and I'm glad I looked up the list, because I'm glad I'm bringing this one in, because she is a shitty mother. She's a terrible mother, and it's the mother from Steven Spielberg's Artificial Intelligence. So her son gets sick, they freeze him, and her husband, to make her feel better, brings home David, this artificial intelligence boy. And when David can't, and her son is magically, they find a cure and unfreeze him and bring him back. And when she can't deal with taking care of David and her son,
who, by the way, is a dick.
Yeah, her son's a dick, but she can't deal with it. She leaves him out in the fucking forest.
Right.
So if you literally read just a quick thing, and I want to give this to Rotten Tomatoes, when you leave your son in a dank wood to be picked up by a robot gigolo, you failed as a parent.
Well, see, and the thing wasn't the only redeeming quality, and it's not even a redeeming quality, because that's not what you do. She was taking him to be destroyed, and she's like, I actually care for him, so I'm going to drop him in the woods.
Drop him in the woods. It's like the people who was like, oh my God, I don't want to take this poor kitten to the pound. I'm going to drop it here beside the road in case maybe that'll work out for it. Yeah. She's a terrible mom. I'm glad
she is a terrible mom. I'm not arguing.
I found that one. I thought, yeah, what a bitch. And I get it.
Yeah.
They're afraid for her son, and her son's human, but David's is artificial intelligence. He is AI.
But I also just want to point out she's a terrible mom because her son's a dick.
Yeah, but even when your son or your daughter is a dick, I'm not saying your daughter's a dick. I'm just saying, that's your kid. I get
Yeah.
that part.
Man, but no, he's a whole level of dick, though. I'm just anyway.
But yeah, I thought that was a good obscure one I hadn't really thought about. Have either of you? Had either one of you wanted that? Didn't come up.
Didn't even
Didn't dawn
register.
on me, and I was really glad that I found that one. I was like, "Oh shit, you're right." All these are very obvious except for that one. Fuck that lady. Chad.
Wait, the Goonies moms is
The Goonies,
I mean,
the Goonies moms are not on that list. The
Big-
only one on that list
Winona Kirk.
is not on that list. No, obscure boy.
So I'm kind of curious. So when you did say, "Hey, let's do," when yesterday you mentioned that Christy said, "Why don't we do Terrible Moms?" This is the first one that came on my list, and this is seriously a legit pick for Terrible Mom. And I'm kind of curious if you were going to tell me if it actually appears on any list whatsoever, because
Sure.
the movie's kind of been forgotten. She doesn't have a name; she's just Mother, but Mother played by Victoria Tennant in Flowers in the Attic.
Yeah, that's my third pick, fucker.
That is son of a bitch. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. No, I was going to do it as my second.
Of a terrible mother.
I was going to do it as my second pick,
Yeah.
but I thought, no, I like the AI one, and I'll end with my third one. No, she is god effing awful.
Shit, I had four backups.
She murders.
She doesn't murder her kid. Well, in the backup. Well, no, don't they all? They all.
One of them dies from the poison.
I know, but in the movie,
yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if the little boy died from. Yeah, I know. I thought
I'm supporting you.
I didn't think the little boy died. I thought they carried him. I know. So the little boy dies. Okay, I haven't. And truthfully, guys, I haven't watched this movie. I haven't read a lot of shit happens in the book that isn't in the movie. So I've never gone back to read the book. And this movie fucked me up. So yeah, and this movie fucked me up so bad that I haven't watched it in over 30 years. But like Joe says, I remember everything vividly. I remember the powdered arsenic or rat poison on the donuts that she was feeding him. I remember. I really didn't remember the little boy died, but I remember Chris, the oldest son, like cutting his wrist so the little boy can suck his blood to get some energy. I mean, it's just awful. And them holding up the dead rat and finally the mother dying and falling off and hanging herself. I mean, it's just awful.
Yeah. So
she is just go ahead.
No, please.
I mean, the whole thing about her too is she acts like she loves those kids and wants to keep them, but then they shove them in an attic and she just forgets them and does her own thing.
Yeah.
And lets the grandmother slowly kill them.
Her name is actually Corinne Dollenganger, it says.
Okay. Yeah. And on the movie list that I have, it just says Mother. So I didn't know if they actually had a name for her.
And the thing,
yeah, I mean,
the interesting thing about it, though, Chad, is that she starts out as sympathetic because she's in debt. She has no money. She has to go to a rich family who've disowned her because she went and married someone they didn't want her to. Correct?
Right. And yes, that's what I was saying. She's so sympathetic at the beginning of the movie. And then as the movie progresses, you're like going, how is she not? What is she doing? And then you find out that she's just forgotten them. She wants to abandon them to get her life back on track. Like she was a perfect mom until money went away.
Yeah.
And then fuck her kids. And that is an awful person. And that is my pure definition of a terrible mother in cinema. Now, unfortunately, I wish if we would have talked, I have 4 backups. None of them are as evil as this one. So, but okay. We'll talk about those in my honorable mentions.
That's okay. James.
Is it me?
Unless we want to do a 4th, because I can go.
We'll go as long as you want to.
No, well,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go
We're ending
literary.
right now, James. We'll talk to you next week. That's been Bonehead Weekly.
I'm gonna go with the literary one. I know y'all hate books, but this is also a movie. But I'm going to go with Charlotte Hayes. Charlotte Hayes is one of the most well-known mothers that nobody actually knows because they remember the other character that Charlotte Hayes is the mother to. Because Charlotte Hayes is middle-aged, middle class, but wants to be high class. She wants to move up the ladder. And so she finds this French aristocrat named Humbert, and she mispronounces French in front of him, and he cringes and all that stuff. But Humbert sticks around for one very important reason. Charlotte Hayes has a daughter named Lolita.
Mm.
If you've never read the book, or I guess seen the movie, Humbert isn't interested in Charlotte Hayes.
Which version? Jeremy Irons or James Mason?
I've seen them
Which
both.
one you
They're
talking
both good.
I've read the book, Chad. I've actually, you know what, Chad, this is true. I've never seen any of the movies. I've just read the book.
Oh, you've never? They're both good. I mean, one's a classic.
Yeah.
But Humbert
Go ahead.
is literally just after, like, he wants Lolita.
Yes.
What's funny is Charlotte Hayes is not a fan of her own child. Is not fond of Lolita. Does not like their. Oddly enough, only protects Lolita because that's what keeps Humbert around. And Humbert doesn't want, of course, Charlotte. He wants Lolita, but he's got to get Charlotte out of the way.
Yep.
And she has constant disdain, just no motherly concern other than, well, if that's what's keeping him here, I want him, so I will humor having a child. Now, Lolita has tantrums and all that stuff. I mean, she's not a likable character either, but Charlotte eventually does die, and that's when Humbert is able to kidnap Lolita. But I mean, Charlotte's death is not, oh, the hero died, right? And now this poor girl is. Charlotte's death is, she was a bad mom. She died. It's sad that now he has nothing to stop him. But Charlotte wasn't sticking around to keep her daughter safe. She was sticking around because she wanted that French aristocratic connection because she was tired of being middle class. And going back to your comment, Joe, again, it's a personal agenda. She is not concerned about her child. She is concerned, I want a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
I want a certain status, and that French aristocracy is the way to get it. And so, yeah, I mean, if again, I would imagine the movies are good, I'm sure, but
They're
Charlotte
both
Hayes
good.
is literally probably one of the worst mothers when it comes to the idea that your parents would protect you. Charlotte doesn't really protect Lolita directly. I mean, indirectly, because she's got to have Lolita around to keep him around.
Right.
But it's a really messed up book. I don't know if you all know this, but sometimes the term Lolita is used in various ways related to Long Island and otherwise.
Most of
Never
us
heard of
don't
it.
name our daughters that. Yeah. All right. So mine is the beautiful, the sexy, the seductress, Mel Brooks' wife, the late Anne Bancroft, Elaine Robinson, Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate. What a shitty mom. Back to your own agenda. She's fucking her daughter's boyfriend. Anybody going to top that? Anybody? It's slightly cringe.
Oh, in terms of bad mothers?
Yes. Well, I mean, there are. I mean, she didn't poison her to death like the Flowers in the Attic one.
Yeah.
Took that one.
Eat the cookie, mother. Eat the cookie, mother.
That means a whole different thing when it comes to Miss Robinson. It means a whole
Yeah, it
different
does.
thing. So she's, I don't know, they call her the original cougar, maybe. But she was sultry, she was mature, and she just didn't want to share her lover with her daughter. Isn't it weird?
No.
I'm just asking you
So
all.
was he dating? Was he dating the daughter before the
Well, that's who he's in
'Cause I thought
love
they-
with, and they're both in love with one another, maybe. But it's the whole ending where they run off and he ends the wedding and takes her away, and that's the reason what makes The Graduate such a brilliant film is that last shot of them looking at each other, going, "What did we just do?"
Yeah, well, and also too, I think they just didn't tell him to cut. They were sitting there going, "What do we do?" in terms of,
But it doesn't play that way. It
No,
plays,
it
"What did we
doesn't.
just
That's
do?"
That's one of those brilliant shots that is just a
Mike
complete
Nichols.
accident. Yeah,
Yes,
it's Mike Nichols
Nichols.
getting lucky is what that was.
Oh, you think so? You don't think he knew?
When they just didn't roll the camera, I don't. Maybe you're right. He may have had that going. Okay, we're just
But
not.
it's like, let's see how awkward this can get.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Michael Nichols is a genius.
Or
Yeah,
was. Stupid cancer.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Anyway, but if you don't know who Mike Nichols is, look at, and I guarantee there's a couple of Mike Nichols films that you really love. I guarantee.
The Birdcage, everybody.
Yeah. So I just think she is such a shitty mom. I mean, not only is she kind of a shitty wife, but all these people are kind of shitty. They are all bourgeoisie. I'm sorry, bourgeoisie. Am I saying it right, James? Bourgeois. They're all
more
middle class.
They're
They're all middle.
Just be
class.
Just be modern and say bougie.
I'm trying not to be, but they're all upper middle class, slightly rich, doing pills, drinking during the day, doing the same shit they're yelling at their kids about. They're all there's so many layers to this movie, but Miss Robinson's a pretty bad mom. Pretty bad mom.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm going to try not to sleep with any of my kids' girlfriends. I say try.
It's nice for you to try.
Nice to try.
Yeah, try.
Gentlemen, I'm a good guy. I'm going to try.
Do we want to do force or we want to go to honorable mentions?
I've got another one I could do, Chad. So if you've got one, roll it. Let's do it.
All right. I'm not going to go the easy route because there's two that are probably number one, number two on your all's list that you're looking up. So I am going to go with, I'm going to butcher the name because I didn't look up how to pronounce it. Queen Gudrun from The Northman, played by Nicole Kidman.
That she is an awful, terrible. I mean, the absolute just takedown of her son in that scene.
Yes, right? That it is awful. Like at first, she appears to be a decent mom, and the spoilers because this is a new movie. If you haven't seen this, please check out The Northman. I'll be honest with you all; it may be my favorite Robert Eggers movies to date. I really did love The Northman. But just it's full disclosure, I'm gonna ruin some stuff for you. So skip me. Skip 30 seconds ahead and not listen to me if you don't want me to starting now. So yeah, she's a terrible mother. She she seems like a really passionate mother, but secretly she orchestrated the murder of her husband and supposedly her child.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later comes back and then she just destroys him right there in that tent, and kind of almost incestuous relationship happens right there.
Yeah.
Just to prove her point. I mean, just an awful person, awful human being. Yeah. And she, again, that was on my list too, but, I'm just, and Nicole Kidman plays her flawlessly.
I agree.
Yeah. I just think she's an amazing actress, but yeah, she is just the epitome of a terrible mother. So yeah, that was my fourth pick.
All right.
I have a great character actor that,
by the way, real quick, welcome to those who skipped ahead and not to run, but so now that you skipped ahead, watch The Northman. It's an amazing film. It's weird as hell, but it's a good weird as hell.
It's not as weird as another Robert Eggers picture.
All right.
Yeah. The Lighthouse.
This is another one, I guess, sort of like Endora, but actually I would argue this one's way worse as far as a mother. And this was actually just a reoccurring role. But again, actually kind of like Endora. The actress that played her, she earned 6 consecutive Emmy nominations for Guest Actress in a Comedy. She won 2 of them for being on this show. The character Chainsmoked was racist to the point that she actually, in modern day America, found somebody that would sell her someone so she could bring it in and see if any of her grandchildren could, quote unquote, win the right to marry them.
Yes.
She
Long pause.
literally doesn't care about anybody in the family. The oldest grandchild she has repeatedly stabbed with a knitting needle anytime he upsets her. And you can only have one actress play this and it still be a comedy, and that is Cloris Leachman. Cloris Leachman playing Ida Welker in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
If you're not a Malcolm in the Middle fan, Breaking Bad's great in it, and
Yeah.
it proves what a range he has. But B, go to any episode Cloris Leachman is
It's
in.
Bryan Cranston.
I know. I froze
I
for
know.
a minute. But,
It's okay.
go to any episode. And by the way, Bryan Cranston bouncing off of Cloris Leachman as Ida Welker. There's an entire episode where he literally, because if you know anything about Malcolm in the Middle, Hal, played by Bryan Cranston, is literally the biggest. My father would use the term panty waist. Like he's non-assertive. He never stands up for himself. But there's an episode where he finally loses it, and he says to his wife, "We have to throw her out of our house." And she responds, "We can't do that, Hal. She's my mother. My terrible, awful, no good, God, I hate her mother." But there's episodes where she burns people with cigarettes just because she can. And then she tells you a backstory about how she once found a wealthy Chinese man and drugged him as long as she could. But one day unfortunately, the drugs didn't work and he escaped because she was going to force to pretend to have married him for all his money. That's the story she tells her grandchildren. It is hilarious, but in all fairness, if that character existed and that was your mother, yeah, it'd be terrible. And again, it's Cloris Leachman. And if you don't know who Cloris Leachman is, I don't know what to tell you, but Cloris Leachman and Madeline Kahn pretty much could do anything.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I just remember the oldest son leaving the house and going to stay with her at her house, and her hopping around on her one leg.
Yeah, because she loses the leg, and she actually loses the leg doing the one sweet thing that she ever did. She realizes that one of them is going to get hit, but then later on, because you think, oh, she actually has started to love her family, and then there's a new baby in the show.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, do you want to see Jamie?" And her response is, "Who the hell is Jamie?" And she doesn't have dementia. She just doesn't care that she's got another grandchild. She doesn't care. And there's at one point she goes, "Maybe I'll go to China and find me somebody else I can drug." And Hal's response, once again, who normally is nothing but a sad sack, lovable guy, is, "Can you imagine if she did that? There would be a whole molten core of the earth between us and her." I mean, she's just a terrible, terrible person that has little redeeming value, but she's a lot. And it's Cloris Leachman doing it. Yeah. And if you read Bryan Cranston's book, he has stories about how she acted on stage or when they were filming, and said, no, nobody else could do what she did in real life or in that role and get away with it. The story is that one of the stories he tells is that literally they were like, "Oh, we've got a tight film set." And she went, "Okay." And then she goes, "Hold on." And she was like, and they said, "Okay." And she literally didn't walk around the corner. She was standing behind the couch on set, and they heard water. And then she goes, "I just had to pee." And she handed a cup to an assistant because they were like, "Oh my God, Cloris, you said we were on a tight time schedule. That's how we get business done." And Bryan Cranston was like, "Yeah, no, phenomenal to work with. Amazing person."
And I mean, no disrespect, that broad didn't take no shit.
No. I can remember, actually, I don't know if y'all remember this, but when they were doing Young Frankenstein for Broadway, she was furious for a while with Mel Brooks because Mel Brooks didn't even give her the chance to play the role.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well," and then he later made some comment like, "Well, I didn't know if given your age, I didn't know if you could do it." And she went off, which, by the way, I guess technically she was right because she was still doing some Broadway type work, and she did it.
She worked into her 90s.
Yeah.
She worked till she died.
Yeah. So anyway, but if you don't know Ida Welker,
I don't actually. I've never watched any of those episodes. I should do that.
Yeah. Honestly, I said just Google Ida Welker episodes and watch them because it's oh my God, I can only imagine she had a blast playing Ida Welker.
Yeah, it really was. It's so enjoyable.
All right, Chad. Who's your
Oh,
last honorable
that
mention?
would be yours.
Well, I know you guys had honorable mentions. I just wanted to talk about a couple we didn't miss once you had
Oh.
honorable mentions.
So the two big ones, and I'm sure they're on both of your list. Norma Bates.
Norma Bates is probably the number one bad mother of all time in film history.
Yeah. Yeah, Norma
I
Bates.
have a hard time arguing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kills all them people. I didn't watch the end of Psycho. That's who's behind it, right?
Yep, that's
The
right.
damage she done to her child alone. I mean, just makes her a terrible mother. I mean, it's you feel bad for Norman Bates.
Yeah,
Because that's what and I've never seen the TV show, so I don't know how that portrays her, but I'm sure she's just as awful in the TV show.
yeah.
As the movies make her out to be. And then the other one is The Wicked Stepmother.
Okay, well, I have one. I have James. You have another one?
I have one more, and it's just
I was
simply
like,
because
Did you not want me to finish up?
Oh, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, The Wicked Stepmother is my second honorable mention. And then the one that's really probably going to piss somebody off, my last honorable mention for horrible mothers, Bambi's mom.
Why?
She that field, they could have waited.
he's got a point.
Yeah, I
He got a
guess.
point.
No, she's like, no,
She's just
we're
gonna
gonna
get shot.
We're gonna go run out there where there's possible gunfire just because I want to get over there now.
I have to go back and rewatch Bambi.
And-
I don't remember.
And then she leaves her son motherless
Who
to be
will
raised
raise
by
this boy?
a very absentee and strict father. Just saying.
Yeah.
And then, but all she had to do was either go around, go back, or stay the fuck there.
Yeah.
Terrible mother.
All right, I've got one honorable mention that I think has to be brought up because it's a musical now. It's been a movie. Obviously, it's based on a book. And actually, I would make the argument that the author who wrote the original book wrote some of the best worst parents ever. But and actually the movie adaptation of it is one of my favorite, Terrible Moms. Because it's hard to beat Rhea Perlman as Miss Wormwood in Matilda.
I was going to bring it up. Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't know her
several
own children's age.
And you're right. There's several Roald Dahl moms and dads on lists.
Well,
Oh yeah. Well, and if you know anything about Roald Dahl, his issue with adults was fair. I mean, I'm not saying justified, but if you know anything about his life, you can go, yeah, okay, that's valid. Like, there's a reason he didn't pull punches in his fiction, which kind of makes me upset. They're editing it, but that's neither here nor there. But Mrs. Wormwood doesn't care. Like, she wants to watch game shows. She's okay that her husband steals. And by the way, the movie version, my kids love it. They love the musical now even more. But the fact that they play it so well, like, you know, that you know, Danny DeVito gets the line, "I'm smart, you're dumb," when he's talking to his kids. But Mrs. Wormwood is worse because she just doesn't care. She doesn't like the fact that Matilda should be in school. And she goes, "But you're not old enough to be in school." And Matilda has to be like, "I'm 7. I should have been in school for a while."
Yeah.
Do you really go to school at 7 now? I guess so. She just doesn't care. She didn't want to be a mother. She didn't want, and it happened, so she let it happen, but she doesn't care. And honestly, Danny DeVito's not a great father, obviously, Mr. Wormwood, but at least he shows some attention to his son. But Mrs. Wormwood, generally speaking, don't get in the front of her television when she's trying to watch it, and don't take any of her money because she wants to go play bingo later. And she'll leave you alone, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I read a review that actually said Mrs. Wormwood is the mother. If there was a junior version of Carrie, Mrs. Wormwood would be the mother, and I'm like, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neglectful, but somehow judging.
There's two more mothers I could defend, but there's one more mother I'm going to defend that's on some of these lists. And she was played by the great Betsy Palmer, whom we've all got to meet one time. Mrs. Voorhees is not a bad mom.
No, she's the exact
no.
opposite.
No,
I don't know why she's on some of these lists.
Well, maybe they think she's a bad mom because she killed people, but I don't think
She
I
does
guess
the same thing as Serial Mom. Serial Mom's just trying to protect. In fact, Betsy Palmer loved her mother so much she entrusted camp counselors to watch her son.
And they killed him.
Well, they
and
let him
she-
drown
Well, they
because they
killed
weren't
him.
paying attention, having
Right.
sex. Yeah,
Right. Because they weren't doing their job. They killed him. And she wants revenge.
Yeah.
And she's distraught. That doesn't make her a terrible mother. That made her a mother who had a son with difficulties, who entrusted others to take care of him so he could lead something of a normal life. And the result was heartbreak.
right. And the last one, I'll defend her just a little. Kate McAllister from Home Alone, Catherine O'Hara. She is trying to do everything she can to get back. And by the way, that little kid's a little shit.
Not the AI piece of shit, but he's close. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
I was gonna
a
say, yeah, no,
little
I don't
shit.
think that's a bad mother either. I agree with you, Joe. That she's not a bad mother.
No, she's
She is-
not.
There's 18,000 kids. There's 5,000 things going on. I don't know
Well,
that she's a bad
And
mom.
here's my entire thing about
She
that.
made a bad mistake.
She did,
Twice.
but the other thing is though, why
But the
is
money
she,
dollars, Chad, the money dollars.
the only thing about it is, and another reason I'll defend her, why is she the only adult?
Yeah.
Uncle Frank?
Yeah.
Uncle Frank could be an adult and try to help people.
Or the dad.
The dad didn't even. The
could
dad
try to help people.
The dad didn't even want her going.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. I mean, yeah, no,
Yeah,
the
we'll
dad.
get back on a plane. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
good. He's a little
Yeah.
shit. I mean, that's not how it happens, but
But I mean, no, I agree. And I think that's the thing. And maybe that's a conversation we should end with. There are some of these lists that, why is the mother responsible? Why is it, I mean, you know what I mean? Like some of
Yeah,
these that we've
it's
been
very
defending.
sexist.
Yeah, what some of these that we're having to quote unquote defend, because again, the Alien Queen's not a bad mother. She's a bad monster if you're human or if you're a humanoid.
Oh, she's a monster, but yeah, it's not a bad mother. Yeah.
But she's trying to do what she needs to do for her future children. Or
They just wanted to be left alone on that damn planet. We came to them.
Mhm.
yeah. But you know, I think a lot of these, but the ones we've talked about where we went, no, they're bad. I mean, Miss Wormwood, it isn't distracted. Carrie's mom isn't, having to be the only adult. Matter of fact, she's running away from it, really. She's not wanting to have to take responsibilities for her daughter or to help her daughter. She wants to do what she wants to do. And so I think that's the thing when we see some of these lists about, oh, this is a bad mother. I mean, and quite frankly, we can go all the way back to fairy tales, right?
Yep.
Bad parents, not just mother. Hansel and Gretel, hey kids, we're running out of food. Why don't y'all go out in the woods?
Yep.
And you bring back whatever you find. We're going to stay at I mean, okay. And so, I think that's the entire thing with this topic is, Disney, in Disney movies, they said they had to kill off the parents because that makes the character grow up, right? They have to be on their own. They have to, but at the same time, some of these, I mean, and actually Matilda is the best example of this. Matilda becomes well adjusted because she does strike out on her own.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves the Wormwoods behind and she starts to use her powers, her kind of Carrie-like powers, quite frankly, to then say, no, I'm not going to be those people. I'm going to become who I'm meant to be. And I think that's what makes, I mean, it's a kid's movie, but I think that's what makes it an interesting consideration of nobody needs to blame their parents, right? We can all strike out on our own. We can all look at what came before and say, that's not who I'm going to be.
Well, hopefully. And with that, we probably should end. Thank you all so much for listening to our Mother's Day. Go out, buy Chad's mom the most expensive gift you can think of, and send it to me so that I can then give it to her and tell her I was the one that bought it.
And hopefully, if any of the people that listen to this show are mothers, happy Mother's Day. Try not to turn your child into somebody that has psychokinetic powers that will burn down their high school.
Or lead a spaceship that kills tons of people without even breaking a tear. Fucking psychopath Captain Kirk is.
This has been Bonehead Weekly.
Uh-huh.